Well, that's cool. It gives you a little recording input. Did you hear that?
I did.
That's funny. I never used to do that. Modern updates and upgrades.
Yeah.
So good to
Hi,
see you.
Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi. As we bring it into focus here at this moment, with some of the craziness in the world, uh, and our little chit chat, which I love chit chatting with you. We have the best conversations.
Yeah, we do. Like, there's no subject that's off limits. We just dive right in and talk about wild stuff because there's always, it's like, where's Gabby? And where's Brian? Where's Brian? It's all about Brian. You know what I heard? Mr. Welsh, what's his name? The
Oh,
guy that, yeah.
yeah, the guy that does the defining people, right?
Yeah, so I was listening to a thing he was doing today, and he's all fired up. He's made his whole life mission finding missing kids, and he said, so Brian, the boyfriend, his
Right.
last name is Laundry, so he's calling them the dirty laundries.
Of course, that's catchy and that has a nice ring to it. It sells on television,
It
right?
was
Oh,
pretty funny though, like listening to him say it, because he was all serious as a heart attack. They're the dirty laundries.
that's a great soundbite.
Yeah,
It's a
so
sad situation, obviously, but yeah, they've got to
yeah.
sensationalize it to sell media airtime.
Well, I think anytime we don't understand um, a crime or a hurt that's been done in the world, whether that's human trafficking or murder or kidnappings, anytime we don't understand it, I think it's really hard for us to process because our level of consciousness can't imagine being in that situation. And I think that's also why we get so riveted to some of these stories. Like, you don't want to watch them, you don't want to, because vibrationally it pulls you down, it causes you to feel kind of on a bummer, right? Like, if you get stuck on those murder mysteries, you start watching a murder mystery and then another one and another one. Oh, I started watching clickbait and I was like, oh, I could stay up all night long and
What's
watch.
that? Is that the Netflix thing?
Yeah, it's a new Netflix, but it's kind of um well, anyway,
Did a
that's
series? Well, what I was going to
yeah,
say
I
is,
think it's a series.
do you see? I don't go down those roads. I mean, I would probably get sucked in, but then again, I try to stay away from Netflix series too, just or any of them Prime, because I don't want to get sucked in because it's like they engineer those things to suck
For
you in.
sure. My oldest son said to me, Mom, I figured out the best way to make money and be successful in this world is to not watch Netflix. Not what he's like, if you want to chill out and you want to relax, he goes, watch a
It's
movie.
true.
Watch an hour and a half movie. He
Yeah.
said anything other than that is meant to steal you, like rob from your time, obviously rob from your money, rob from your house being Marie Kondo, fit as a fiddle. Like, you're just not going to get
Right.
it done because the show's so good, you're just going to be hooked. And it's
Yeah.
so true. I mean, that's the design, right? They're successful if they get you hooked. That's the
They
thing.
are. He's a
Yeah,
smart kid.
I know.
If he gets that figured out now, because I don't think on anyone's vision board is Game of Thrones or The
No,
Bachelor. I mean,
no. When I grow
but
up,
they
I
get
want to be the
sucked in.
bachelorette. No.
Yeah, no, that's not on anyone's plan, but they are engineered, and that's why. I mean, that's why I try to stay away from the news too, because they engineer their stories to suck you in. But like when you
Yeah,
told me about the Gabby thing, I didn't even know. Remember when you said this is a
but
few
that's a
days ago?
good thing. That's a good thing because I went
I
down this
had no
rabbit
clue.
hole. I really enjoy reading the comments because I think that's where I can get the closest to the human element is in the comments. So CNN had posted something and people were commenting and they were saying how upset they were that there's other people in the country that have been missing during the same exact month. And somebody happened to mention one. It was a woman from Las Vegas who was a little bit older. I want to say she was like 25, but she went missing and she was recently found murdered. And so I kind of went down the rabbit hole to see if it was even real. I was like, oh, I'm going to see if this person's even a real person or if they're just trying to like further their argument that we only care about Gabby. And sure enough, it was a real story. And I thought, well, I guess we could go on and on and on and on. Lots of
Yeah,
people have been
yeah.
kidnapped this month, and lots of people have been murdered this month. And what was fascinating on the Vegas, the girl that I wish, rest in peace, I wish I could remember her name,
Sure.
but the the mother said, what's so crazy is Vegas is open 24/7, but you can't get anybody to like work on a missing persons on the weekend. It's like a Monday through Friday, like business hours type thing is what she was saying. And I don't know if there's any truth to that, but she was saying it was very frustrating to try to get someone to work on her case during the weekend when the daughter went missing. And I thought, oh, that's interesting.
And from what little I understand, those first 48 hours are the critical. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it is the most critical. But my point of even mentioning that is that now I'm researching these facts that have no relevance to my life, no relevance to what I'm doing.
You're sucked in.
They don't even make me feel good. Now I'm sitting here talking to you on Zoom about how if your child goes missing in Vegas, you are screwed. And I don't want to be talking about that, period.
Right. No, it doesn't, but people get sucked into things. And that's why the more I go on in life, the more I realize it is a game of focus, like to tune out that circus around us.
Yes.
And focus.
I think a more relevant thing is that it's not necessarily to tune out all of this, but I think it's to tune out all of this. Because there's a whole lot going on in there, a lot of fear, a lot of worry, a lot of what if I never make it, a lot of what if I never find love, a lot of what if I never am able to leave a legacy, a lot of what if my health never gets better. There's a lot of people out there that have that mind chatter, just it's on this replay all the time, and sometimes that's hard to reset when that's the norm.
It can be.
Like, for example, I have Spotify and I love Spotify. I love music, like that's my thing. And I have these playlists that I've created, and I find that I'm perfectly content listening to the same exact playlist indefinitely until one day I say to myself, Tiff, there's a whole new world of music out there that you can explore. And then I get nuts and I'll do like the number one hits globally. And I'm listening to something from Brazil and I'm
foreign music is awesome.
Yeah. And I've let you listen to some of the crazy stuff I've found. But I mean, there's a whole other spectrum of, let's call it vibration. I mean, some people that are listening are like, what are you talking about vibration? Well, for those of you that don't know, like anger, it has a vibe in your body, right? You're pissed. Jealousy, it's got a vibe, right? Sadness, it has a vibe. So life has vibe. So life, when you're incredibly prosperous, it has a vibe. Like, how do you feel when you're in that vibe? Now, there's some people that only know that vibe. They never have known poverty. They just have never had that experience of deep poverty, right? And so I think that if you're only playing the vibrational soundtrack of what you've known your whole life, or potentially what your parents have known, you're really doing yourself a disservice in regards to what you could tap into, like what you could enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I find a cool new piece of music or a new type of flavor, I'm like, this is awesome, and it goes in the bank.
Yeah.
Because I think people want that full spectrum experience. They don't want to live in just this little narrow bandwidth.
Well, and so my recommendation is to use music as a tool and to find music that causes you to feel prosperous, right? There's a lot of great songs that make you feel like you're the pimp, like you got it going on, right?
Yeah, and it changes you.
Yeah, maybe it's that you want to feel sexy. Maybe it's, use it as a tool. So I know when my son passed away, I just wanted to cry. And I had a few songs that really invoked that emotion. And I let that rip for longer than I care to admit, so that I could purge that through me, right? So that it could all be purged. Yeah. And so I think my process may have been condensed compared to maybe someone who says, I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I'm going to stay strong.
I'm going to stay strong, and they avoid it. And so I guess the key is to figure out how you want to feel each day, and then be super conscious on what you choose. So if it's just music, if we're just talking about music, then choose things that make you feel great. If we're talking about fitness, right, choose activities that make you feel good at the end of the day. Yeah. Or prosperity, find music that causes, or clothing that causes you to feel huge prosperous.
One. Clothing and decor. That's one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about, cleaning up clutter, or getting pieces of art, objects that spark that prosperity and abundance consciousness that remind you of those things.
Well, and then another example is I was working with a very affluent gentleman that has a lot of artwork in his home. And during one of our sessions, he realized that he was just tolerating this $100,000 painting that was on his wall that no longer sparked any joy. And it had just become part of the landscape, almost like part of the wall, almost like your dining table. A lot of people don't switch out the dining tables, right? Because they don't even notice that they no longer like it. I mean, I suppose people do that with wives and husbands too. They just leave it forever, even though they no longer enjoy it. It no longer sparks joy. It no longer feels amazing. You don't go home and get so excited to see your partner anymore because they don't really like you either. I mean,
yeah, like the feeling is mutual.
If you don't like the painting, I can guarantee you that painting is not vibing on you and it wants to find a new home. Marie Kondo would say, thank you so much for being, thank you.
Yeah, she is so funny.
And then let it go. And so why can't we do that with marriages or relationships? Thank you so much for being in my life. I really enjoyed it. And I'm moving on. I mean, couldn't it be that simple?
It should be, and it could be, but it's that letting go. I think we're afraid that, hey, that comes back to the scarcity poverty consciousness. They're like, I'm afraid I'm going to get something worse, or I'm not going to get something at all. This is important.
I think a lot of it. So I was working with a client who literally doesn't have the broadband to leave his wife. He is so taxed at work all day long. He has so much going on professionally and even within the family dynamic that the amount of strength that it would take to leave an individual that may or may not be somewhat abusive to him, right? Just isn't there. Yeah. So then, I posed the question, well, what would happen if you came home and your son or your daughter or your dog had a black eye from your wife? Like, then would you consider an alternative? And he's like, oh, absolutely. In a hot flash second, I'd file the paperwork today. And I'm like, okay, so because she's beating you and you have black eyes and you're bloodied and you have a black arm, or a broken arm, that you won't take those steps? And he's like, I never really thought of it that way, but yes, I'll protect everyone else. I'll protect the dog, the chickens, the goat, my children, my home, but I will not protect myself from this unhealthy, dysfunctional, definitely abusive relationship. And, it's interesting to ask people, how many of you are tolerating a relationship just because you don't have the broadband to take the steps to leave it?
And maybe it's not even a relationship with another person. Maybe it's a relationship with money or a relationship with poor food.
For sure. It's hard to make a decision.
It can be.
It's hard to be at a Chick-fil-A and say, oh, I'm going to eat my banana.
back to they are engineering stuff to get us addicted. It's in the TV, it's in the food, it's in the colas, and no wonder it's harder. It can be challenging. But because
it's super hard to choose a healthy relationship when you may have been very young when you chose it in the first place, or you may have not been. How do I want to word this? Your consciousness may have not been at the level that it is now, and so now when you describe a healthy relationship, it is nothing like the one that you're in. Like, your idea of it is different. You're like, hey, I want to be able to have conversations with my husband or my wife, like great ones. I want to be able to sit at that table at dinner and not just stare at my phone or hurry up to be finished so we can move on. I want to actually enjoy that person as if I was having an affair, right? I want to have it last. I want to make love to my spouse. I want to cherish them. That's a word that comes up quite a bit in my particular work, is, do you feel cherished in your marriage? And it's a hard question for a lot of clients to answer, because they'll say, well, yeah, but if you understood her childhood, you understood what she'd been through in her life.
They're justifying.
Here's a big one I hear quite a bit. if you knew how much better she was now that she's on the antidepressants, you'd understand that it's actually not as bad as it was. And I'm thinking, but why is that
like we can talk ourselves into or out of anything.
Yeah,
we
it's
are
not
masters.
bad. I don't want to ever, like, can you imagine starting to date someone and saying, well, you're not as bad as the last one. So, okay, this sounds fun. Let's do it.
Right. It happens. And I realized it is challenging to let go and just like walking forward in faith. But I think that's what we're here for. Like the other day, I told you, like, this Helen Keller quote keeps coming up: life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. And, you know, at the end of our lives, I'd rather say I tried and maybe failed than I didn't try. That's harder to live with.
Yeah, 100%. And not even that. I mean, I don't even want to try. I just want to do it.
Right.
I just want to go and do it. And I am not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of
falling down.
I'm not afraid of vulnerability. I'm not afraid of being embarrassed. No. I'm not afraid of spilling wine all over my white shirt. Like, I'm not afraid of it. You know, I feel like it's just the humanness in us. And I know that I am attracted, like, from a heart level to people that are very real and authentic.
Oh, sure.
And so when I see it in someone, like when I meet someone at a party that's got a rip in their dress, or a guy that spilled something on his jeans or slacks, I'm like, oh, I love it. Like, it's a conversation piece. It makes me want to go over and talk to them, because I can see that they are literally wearing their vulnerability, because it's a spill. They're wearing the vulnerability. Well, most of us have spills. Most of us have tears. Most of us have like little patchworks that we've done.
Yeah.
It's all on the inside.
Neurotic things, neuroses that we keep hidden. Sure.
Yeah, we keep it all hidden. And I think that that's such a shame, because most of us, if we got honest with ourselves, will admit that we're attracted to some of the patchwork that we see, because it tells us a lot about the person. Is it shoddy patchwork?
Well, it makes them human.
Yeah. Were they mindful when they did that patchwork? You know, like,
yeah, because you are right. It tells us a lot about the person. I mean, if you open it up, if you examine the thing, it's like a little psychological blueprint of them, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate all of that. And so if I appreciate it in another, I should really learn to appreciate it within myself. You know, I was talking to someone the other day and we were talking about coaching, and I said, hey, would you hire yourself for $500 an hour? And the person like thought about it for a second, and they were like, probably not.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay. You really want to value what you bring to the table to whatever degree that you want to earn it. And that is something that nobody can choose for you. There's no employer that can choose it for you. It's really up to you to decide what your value is in a relationship, what your value is in the world. Here's a perfect example. It's a great example. I went to the coffee shop at the Village. I was meeting a client and we both got coffees, and I got decaf because I'm a little caffeine.
You're already strung out?
I'm already strung out. So I get my iced coffee and we're sitting at the table and I take a sip and I keep the poker face. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to say that this tastes terrible and I want to spit it out.
Oh, really?
So then I'm sitting there, we're kind of diving into the session. I'm like, okay, I'll try another sip, because clearly I must have been wrong upon first sip. I must have been wrong. Like, this must be good. And I have misunderstood myself, or this poor little innocent cup of coffee. So I take another sip and I'm like, no, still bad. So I actually did this 3 times. I took three sips and I was like, okay, hopefully my client doesn't notice that it's just going to sit here for the whole next hour, because I'm not touching any of it. So we get finished and I think to myself, I'm going in that coffee shop. I got to find out what's going down.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to have a conversation, right? I don't want to complain and I don't want to return it. I just want to find out what's going down. So I come in, I say, hey, I just got this iced coffee, and something, I said, I get it frequently, something doesn't taste right. And she goes, was it decaf? And I go, yeah, it was. And she goes, well, we just got these brand new decaf beans and they don't taste right. And everyone has returned their coffee. And so we've let the distributor know, whoever it is that's bringing their coffee beans. And they were super nice. And they gave me this little, like, it's on us little card, for next time. But I felt so validated. They
Yeah.
said, yeah, we tasted it and it does not taste.
That is a validate. Yeah, because a lot of times they go, oh, sorry, you know, they play the
and decaf is something that most people don't try. So the return rate is low, right? For every decaf that they sell, they might sell 30 regulars. Sure. And out of the one decaf that they sold, how many people will walk up to have the conversation and not just like drink it?
Well, right. I'll tell you, Starbucks has trained people to drink not good coffee because all their coffee is bitter, you know, unless you put.
Starbucks has just trained people to enjoy covering up the bitter with a lot of syrup. Yeah. They're really good.
And I drink it sometimes too, but you know, I mean, I don't drink coffee these days much at all now, but still back in the day, I mean, as if it's convenient. That's interesting. Like, let's double back to this to the idea you were talking about with the you were talking about something about feeling. Oh, I know what it was, and this is what I want to say. And you have this book, that Feelings Buried Alive Live Forever.
Feelings Buried Alive Never Die.
Never die. Excuse me. Yes. And I was listening to someone else the other day on some YouTube video or something, and they said, hey, if you really want to get past something, some kind of experience that you're having, whether it's relationship or health or money or whatever, go deep into the feeling and sit with it. And I know that's true for me because I'm always like, okay, where's my consciousness? I want to be over there. I want to be over here. I want to be here. And I never really take the time sometimes to go, examine it, spin it around, look at it, love it, you know, where the feeling that's keeping me where I'm at now. And I think that is critical. What's your thoughts?
I think that's advanced work, Mark.
You think it is?
For someone, okay, so.
It seems rudimentary to me. I think advanced work is visualization, emotionalization.
A man goes to a party and he's underdressed, right? So he recognizes that he's underdressed and immediately is a feeling of insecurity underneath that. But he doesn't feel the feeling of insecurity. He either says, well, fuck this, the person that, oh, darn it, the person that invited me to this party.
Hey, this is all about getting real, Tiff. Now, come on now.
The person that invited me to this party didn't tell me it was a black tie, right? So they're immediately going to like the blame game. They're not really staying. Sure. They're not staying with the, how do I feel when everyone else is dressed this way and I'm dressed this way, right? Or female walks into a situation and she realizes that she's the least physically attractive in the group, right? Because you know kind of where you lay in the land. And so these insecurities pop up. Well, instead, what she registers is, I'm not meeting with this group again because I don't like this feeling. So I'm not meeting with this group again. Instead of actually going to the court, because the group's probably thinking nothing of it, right? If anything, maybe, yeah. This individual, you know, it's
obviously a trigger for that individual. They're sensitive about it for some reason.
Right. We all have it. Every single one of us.
We all have it.
But here's the advanced part, is to just sit with it and say, I feel less than, or I feel insecure. And where does that come from? Like,
yeah, why do I feel that way?
Why do I feel insecure? Are they really better than me? Are they better than me because they're more attractive? Are they better?
My favorite question. Yeah, like, oh, is this really true?
More fit, or because they earn more money, or because they have blue eyes and I have brown, or because they have less wrinkles, I have more, or whatever. Compare and contrast. That's what we do.
Yeah, compare and contrast. But also what we do, and I notice this in myself and I see it in other people, we don't do it fairly. We're too harsh on ourselves. We look totally at the flaws and we diminish our greatness.
And we would never.
And that needs to shift.
Yeah, we would never do it to our children.
No.
Like if our child came home from a party and said, I didn't have the right outfit, we would be like, babe, you look great.
Outfits don't matter, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if we don't give ourselves that own kindness.
We don't give ourselves, you know, and that's the thing. And that's the key right there, is we need to shift that. It needs to be flipped 180, and we need to focus a little bit on our flaws, the things we want to improve, and really focus big time on the things that are working great. And we're going to feel better, because when you think about going to a party, if you look at the person as a holistic being, yeah, they may not look they may not have the body of a supermodel, but what about personality? What about, spirituality? What about their emotions? Maybe they're really high IQ there, but they don't look at that. We're a visual world, and there's so much going on behind the scenes.
Well, and here's the thing. There's a lot to be said about the physical visual world. And so here's what I have to say. Before you leave your house every day, make sure that you're representing who you are. Because I think that's often when people get a little hung up, is they wind up somewhere and they go, oh, I'm not representing myself today.
Yeah.
This is not me at my best. And they, how often have you heard, I ran into the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams and I looked terrible. Like,
yeah.
My hair was washed.
I didn't brush my teeth. I don't wash my face.
My nails were chipped. Like, whatever it was, they don't feel great about themselves. And it's like, okay, well, let's take a step back and let's leave the house every day feeling confident and doing everything in our power to be that person.
And the other thing is, they might not even have the opportunity to meet that person, because if they go out kind of hiding, rushing into the store quick, as opposed to taking
I'm that person that's like, I'm the invisible person. You cannot see me. I am known for that. I mean, I will be in the store, and I kind of believe it. Like, how nerdy is that? I kind of believe no one can see me because I put like the shields up, and it's Sunday morning. I'm in my yoga pants. I'm like,
you never know. You never know when you're going to meet.
My hair is all crazy, and I'll get a client that'll come up to me and just happy as can be.
Yeah.
Hey, Tiff, is that you? And I'm like, no, it's not. And I smile, and they go, okay, Tiff. I'm like, no, really, it's not me. Bye.
Right. It's challenging, but you're right. We always need to be ready for magic and miracles to come to us.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. That's the key. Be ready for magic and miracles.
If we knew that even in one split second of you going out in grungy clothes, all messy, that you might miss some magic or miracles, we'd never do it.
Okay, so let me clarify something for anybody that happens to come across this little podcast that we're doing right now. The problem isn't what you're wearing, because I can go out in sweatpants,
but it does make you feel
right. So if you can't rock it, don't do it. If you can rock the outfit, no matter what it is, then do it. Enjoy it, because it's your vibration that attracts people. It's not your
vibration. But as we all know, when you're feeling good, you say you got a new hat or a new shirt, and your clothes feel really good to you. You're open. People respond to you differently. So it's a small factor, but it is a factor.
For sure. But the biggest factor of all of it is, how do you feel?
It's true.
In that clothing. I mean, that's why it's so important to take a look at what's in your closet and say,
do an audit.
Do I feel amazing in this? Because I mean, there's a direct correlation there to how many things you keep that you do not feel amazing in. How many friends do you keep that you don't feel amazing around? How many just things do you keep in your life, material things that do not cause you to feel amazing? And start taking inventory of that. And then I would say make a shift and decide that everything you bring in is going to cause you to feel really good.
Yeah, for sure. So before we wrap it up, if people want to get in touch with you about coaching, tell them where they can go.
Soulwhiskey.com is the best place to find me. Email is always great. Doorways, DOORWAYS @live.com. So that's the best way to get a hold of me, is really through email.
Awesome. And I'm going to share my stuff here too. I recently fired this up as part of my offerings to help people, because I see so many people.
I'm so glad that you did finally.
Yeah, I am too, and I've always liked to, when I was in the design and space planning industry, I love working one-on-one with people, but I just think I was so much in the mode of, I love content creation so much that I thought, do I have the bandwidth to also offer this?
But you've been doing it anyway. You've been doing lifestyle design for 10 years. I mean, really, if not longer. And so
it does light me up, like it lights you up to work one-on-one with people,
Well, I know that people have been asking you to do it, but you've just been too busy. So I'm really
I've been blinders on.
Yeah.
For sure. But anyway, so if you want to if you want to hook up with me, gmarkphillips.com/consulting. There's links in the description. I'll put links to your stuff in the description. Yeah, this has been awesome.
All right, let's go enjoy the beautiful fall day.
For sure. Thanks, Tiff.
All right, bye, Mark.
Bye.